Anyway, I think we've got the second caller on. Declan, are you with us?
Hello, yeah, thanks. Actually, this topic, first of all, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. The whole sort of YouTube collection of creationists and sort of the atheists, do you not sort of think that you've been drawn into a pointless fight that is sort of diminishing your capacity to sort of benefit the world?
What do you mean by that? How has it decreased our ability to benefit the world
I mean,
by dealing with creationists?
I mean, this is taking up a significant portion of your time, and you're all obviously creative, intellectual individuals. I mean, sometimes I kind of think that the creationists have forced you into this corner where you have to defend atheism and sort of the scientific process.
It's not so much that we're forced to defend atheism, but for certain we have to counter the disinformation. And to a degree, you're right, this is a thankless task, but basically, if you don't fight the battle, then if you don't counter the disinformation, more damage is done than if you do counter it. And the way I've often looked at it is, what are your options? You can go off to the edge of the unknown and discover, actually do research there. But what's the point of actually trying to gain knowledge there if the very society that actually made this research possible whilst you were doing that has had its foundations undermined by these creationist sorts? In other words, unless you have a society that appreciates the value of knowledge and what it does, then there is no point of going off and discovering anything else. Because you're undermining the foundations of society. It has to be defended.
I mean, it's also about fostering critical thinking, fostering an appreciation for education and knowledge and things like that, which is something that our society simply doesn't value. I mean, the fact that there are people today, a significant portion of the population, that really believes that the Earth is 6,000 years old. I mean, there is something seriously wrong with an individual who believes that. They're either crazy, they're either extremely stupid, or they're ignorant. And ignorance necessarily isn't a bad thing. I mean, we're all ignorant about something, but they need to have the education. And it needs to be taught. And people need to be able to, when they bring up these, obscure points like, I carbon dated a seal, I did this, I did that, and that, would tend to point towards creationism, or the turtle flipper that was shown in the last episode that Sean brought up, or Venom Fang X brought up, stating that it was a human bone. I mean, you need to be able to have an answer to that. That is something that should be explored, because this stuff gets brought up, and having the ability to shoot it down not only improves your critical thinking skills, you learn something in the process, and you're also kind of pushing them back a little bit. And to me, that's important. But you can't, you cannot, it's impossible for a rational human being to have really looked at and studied the evidence, have a thorough education, and still feel strongly about creationism. I mean, there are some people who, they just don't care. I mean, they haven't really looked at the evidence and they just believe it. But to me, there's something to be said about someone who forms a very strong opinion while knowing little about the subject. And I think that's part of the problem too. We just need more critical thinking, and we need more appreciation for education in the country. So,
well, these people are conditioned to think like that. I mean, they're told to go with their gut feeling. I was reprimanded by the people that were, my babysitters and such when I was a child. I was reprimanded for saying that, that this old adage about you never get a second chance to make a first impression, that's not really all that important, because I figured out that many of my first impressions turned out to be wrong on later examination. And I was scolded for this, because your first impression was a supernaturally judged hunch that was never to be questioned. As ignorant a statement as that is, that's what, my babysitters believed in.
I mean, let me just, one brief point. So this is a fragment of a script I had kicking around for some time. Addressing dogma is necessary from stopping society from regressing. There is no point in building an ivory tower capable of seeing the unknown if while you're doing it, religious sorts have undermined its very foundations and replaced it with the shifting sands of dogma. Addressing dogma is divisive, whether it's about teaching creationism in schools or respecting Islamic laws. I mean, the point's there that you've got to do this to stop. Even if it's just to maintain the status quo, it's got to be done. Anyway, okay, you had a point you wanted to make.
No, I was just going to say I really thank you for taking the time to answer that, and I really appreciate what you do. Big fan. Thanks and goodbye.